Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Stranger Things 4 released a trailer with a huge reveal that no one thought was possible after Season 3. David Harbour's fur can be cut by mortal shears. Last season's post-credit scene hinted that the Russians had an American in captivity in a facility where they also have a Demogorgon, or the Demogorgon has them. It's kind of a who rescued who situation there. That American is now confirmed to be Hopper, who somehow survived the explosion under the Starcourt Mall. Now the mystery is, how was he alive? And how did he end up in Russia? And how the hell do both these questions also apply to the Demogorgon? Tis has really been the season here at New Rockstars for making 8 to 9 minute mountains out of 45-second molehills. But that's how I does. I rewatched this puppy like 80 times and found a Hawkins Halloween party's worth the details. I'm gonna break them all down, and spoiler warning in case any of these theories end up being too right and they ruin your life. It happens. Lives have been ruined. Here we go. Okay, we find ourselves in what looks to be a Russian prison camp in some remote, frozen, wooded area of Siberia. Now, the Russians would use forced labor like this to build railroad tracks. Look closely, you can see guards shoving prisoners, screaming at other prisoners who kneel in exhaustion, dogs barking in Russian probably. It's a nightmare. Now, I would argue that winter is the worst time to be building train tracks, with the ground frozen and all. But, it's free labor, and Vladivostok needs its vodka by Christmas. That said, it's also possible that the facility Hopper was in needs to be able to make large cargo shipments in and out of it. That facility had what looked like airplane hangars, for access by air, but I couldn't make out any train lines for ground access and heavier cargo. And if that facility wanted to ship out bioweapons like Demogorgons, trains might be a safer way to do it. The chanting we are hearing here is the Russian war anthem, "The Red Army is the Strongest," also known as White Army Black Baron. The song dates back to the Russian Civil War, when Pyotr Wrangel, nicknamed the Black Baron for wearing and dressing his elite units in black, led an offensive in Crimea that was halted by the Red Army, forcing Wrangel to flee Crimea to Constantinople. Using one of Russia's most famous war songs here could just be some Soviet set dressing, or the lyrics could hint at these black-clad prisoners about to be halted by a similar, stronger force. Moving on. Okay, you may recognize the face of this Russian officer, or maybe you don't recognize the faceless man, Jack Nagar from Game of Thrones, Tom Alaschia. If Stranger Things is willing to typecast David Harbour as a Russian prisoner from his role in Black Widow, who knows? Maybe they also have Russian soldiers who can change their faces on a ruble. And then the camera crawls up the workers on the railroad all the livelong day. I like how the guy right behind Hopper swings his hammer, but the head hits only air. And we see that one of these prisoners is Jim Hopper, bald and clean shaven. I love this because his look echoes 11 when we first met her back in Season 1. Like Elle once was, Hopper is now a prisoner with more trippy experiences than his captors likely appreciate. Hopper removes his hat, wipes his brow, and then that 1,000-yard stare lingers for just a bit too long. That scary Russian dog's gonna bark. Bark! Get back to work! It's kind of hard to do dog and Russian at the same time. It also feels like it's punching down a bit.
A Russian dog says, "What's bark?"
They were being tortured. Doesn't it look like Hopper is looking out at something in the distance? Maybe he hears a haunting sound? Notice the two guards in the background behind them. They appear to be standing along some kind of line in the snow. The earlier aerial shot makes me think it could have been a fallen tree. Maybe one cut down for timber for the railroad, or did some other force knock this tree down? A nearby rift in a dimension, or an escaped interdimensional monster that we know was capable of moving trees in Indiana. A breakout of some kind of interdimensional monster could be what Hopper is observing here. And if you listen to the audio in the final few seconds of this teaser, we do get a clue. That is the growl of the Demogorgon, which we know was in the same facility that Hopper, the American, was being kept. Now, we're not sure if this is the Demogorgon or just a Demogorgon, but it was implied that the Demogorgon was a solo apex predator and probably wasn't part of a pack. If the Russians have it in captivity, feeding other political prisoners to it, I'm thinking they are trying to weaponize this beast for military uses. But back to the question of Hopper. How is he here? There's still a lot we don't know about the Upside Down, but the simplest explanation, that really isn't simple at all, is that Hopper did not die in the tiny explosion. He entered the rift into the Upside Down right before it closed, and that the Upside Down is a dimension parallel to our own that bends space in the way so that secondary rifts opened by Russians in Siberia would be relatively close to the Indiana one Hopper just arrived through, and Russian scientists exploring the Upside Down from their end have found this man and wondered why this guy's dressed in a Russian military uniform. Let's take him home, figure out what's going on. But that explanation would not explain how they have the Demogorgon, despite the Demogorgon's destruction at the end of season 1. Well, perhaps the answer to this lies in our understanding of time. Don't click away. In my breakdown of the season 4 announcement a couple months back, I pointed out the clock imagery. And if you remember, Hopper's letter to Elle at the end of season 3 referenced reversing time.
To turn back the clock.
And there was a discussion between Steve and Robin about the logic of the Back to the Future movie.
Then why is it called Back to the Future?
He has to go back to the future because he's in the past. So the future is actually the present, which is his time.
What?
Perhaps the Upside Down is a channel that bends space and time. If Hopper went into the Upside Down in 1985, he could have re-emerged in the Russian end of the wormhole back sometime before 1983, when the Demogorgon was just getting warmed up. This Hopper here could be in 1983 or even well earlier, when the USSR was using prison labor all the time. And this season will show us the origins of how the Demogorgon made its way to Hawkins, Indiana in the first place. The Demogorgon could have been a Russian bioweapon that escaped into the Upside Down, and the American experimentation into the Upside Down in season 1 and the program Elle was involved in was the American attempt to counter that Russian research, but they ended up opening the door to it wreaking havoc on Barb, really. And maybe we will see that the events of the past 3 seasons will have been, in a way, caused by Hopper. This time-traveling version of him will go back through everything, like Marty in Back to the Future Part 2, as he attempts to get back home to Indiana. Maybe even he'll be presented with a chance to see his daughter again. Hey, comment down below with your theories and for my dark, unfiltered thoughts on this stuff. Join New Rockstars' official Discord channel by becoming a patron today at patreon.com/newrockstars. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EA Voss. Follow New Rockstars and subscribe to New Rockstars here on YouTube for breakdowns of everything you love. Thanks for watching. Bye.